right, we are live here at the Idaho State Capitol. It is January 11th, 2022. All right, so we're going to do mic test, everyone. We've got a new setup here. So this is mic test 1, mic test 1. And this is a secondary mic, mic test 2, mic test 2. This is the first time that we are trying 2 separate microphones, so if you guys can let me know if you can hear me okay and that everything is good to go on both microphones. We actually have 2 microphones set up. This is kind of a new system that we're using, so hopefully it works okay, but we have tested both microphones. There should be one on the podium and then one with me here so that you guys can hopefully hear when I ask them questions. Okay, so somebody says we can hear. You could hear both mics, right? Because I have one on, and then there's also one with them. So, okay, everybody says it sounds good.
Is he supposed to be checking in? Yeah.
So, and we'll be the 10 o'clock this morning is when we will kick it off. All right, so for those just tuning in, we are live here at the Idaho State Capitol building. Today is the beginning of the Idaho legislative session, and we will be kicking it off with there's a press conference with some of the legislators here who are doing their 2022 Idaho Conservative Agenda, which we will have a copy of for you guys later on, and we will be asking some questions of the legislators after the press briefing is over. And so for the first time we have 2 microphones that we're going to be using. One of them is up on the podium there, and then I have the other one, and that way you guys can be able to hear what they are saying, as well as be able to hear if I'm able to get a couple questions in as well. So there are about looks like somewhere around a dozen or so legislators. Yeah, it's good. Yep.
All right, the hour of 10 o'clock has arrived.
Yeah, you too.
John Thompson, code 3-1.
How are you? Nice to meet you.
Do we have all of our representatives and senators here? Senator Bayer isn't feeling well today, or she would be here.
We need a double. Should we double roll?
Short people in front. All right, we'd like to first begin by thanking all of you for being here today. As conservative legislators, we're very excited to be able to present to you today the Idaho Conservative Agenda for 2022. This year, the conservative legislators will focus on these goals: restoring freedoms, lowering taxes, and less government. The voice of the people needs to be heard properly through their senators and representatives who understand their oath of office and who will work for the people. Other important freedoms include protection of medical autonomy and privacy, education choice, protecting family rights, keeping businesses open, and defending our constitutionally protected rights, including the right to keep and bear arms and the right to self-defense. The 2022 legislative session will be crucial for Idaho families and businesses. We have important work to do to keep Idaho prosperous, restore Idaho's robust economy, make sure that the massive surplus in Idaho's budget is returned to the taxpayers who rightfully deserve it. Idaho should not sell its sovereignty for the price of federal grants and the rules that come with them. We can and we must reduce property taxes, repeal the tax on food, and ease other tax burdens on our families and our businesses. The Idaho Conservative Agenda for 2022 is the roadmap for achieving these goals. We encourage everyone who is ready to move Idaho forward with robust economic growth, limited government, and maximum personal freedom to get a copy of the Idaho Conservative Agenda by asking their conservative senators and representatives for a copy. Thousands of hard copies of the agenda are available for distribution across the state. We are ready on day one with this Idaho Conservative Agenda. It will put the legislature on the path towards productivity and advancing conservative values. We are excited to get to work on both reducing and improving Idaho's government so that it works for the benefit of Idaho families and businesses. Now we have some senators or some representatives, that would like to take a few minutes and speak. We will start with Representative Hanks. Then is Representative DeMordaunt here? She had asked for some time, and then Representative Moon, and then Representative Nate, and then we will take a few questions after that. Representative Hanks.
Hi, I'm Representative Hanks, and I represent Jefferson, Fremont, Butte, and Clark counties in the eastern part of our state, and I love it there. But I'm happy to be here because we are supporting the conservative agenda, and these are our goals for this year. This is what we're going to work on. Something that I've probably received the most letters and contacts lately is on the property taxes because people just received their bills. I have a letter from one of my constituents that represents several contacts that I've received, and she talks about how her property taxes are going up. She's 70 years old. She's on a fixed income. She was raised in this area of Jefferson County, and she says, I'm painting a picture for you to ask that you begin working on some real property tax relief, not just a Band-Aid for a year or two. The system is broken, and people need to start thinking outside the box on how to fund entities without breaking the backs of the residents. So it's very important. I support all of these proposals that we have, and we're going to work very hard to get them achieved. So thank you.
I'll go next. Okay. Representative Dorothy Moon, District 8. I represent Lemhi, Custer, Boise, Gem, and Valley County. And I'm here to address the top issue on our conservative agenda, which is ensuring election integrity in the state. Most of you know I'm running for another office, but that isn't the idea behind this talk. But I do want to talk about what just happened at the winter meeting for the state GOP. There was a resolution, number 13, that was passed by the body that said that we would do a forensic audit in the state of Idaho. As serving as the liaison between the state GOP and the legislature, I'm anxious to get that bill moving and get it through both chambers and signed by the governor. Other issues with election integrity, this session will definitely deal with government-issued ID, ballot harvesting, and many other different aspects of election integrity that have been revealed over the past few years, especially. So anyway, that's going to be my focus, and whoever's next, I appreciate helping us get these through.
I'm Representative Ron Nate with District 34, and I just want to tell you a little bit about how this came together. For months, conservative legislators have been meeting via Zoom and remotely and discussing issues, and mostly issues that have been brought to our attention by constituents who see real problems or concerns or issues that they have in the state of Idaho. And this conservative agenda was the fruit of those discussions and deciding what we could focus on this legislative session to get some real results for Idaho citizens. You can't have a representative republic if you can't have secure elections. So election integrity tops the list there. And as Representative Moon said, we need to make sure that everyone can feel secure in their vote, that the counts are accurate, and that for the protection of counties and county clerks, too, that they have a process that they're confident in and that protects their integrity as well. Grocery tax relief is high on my list of priorities. You might notice on the conservative agenda that it mentions that at the time of printing we had a $1.5 billion state surplus. Now it's $1.6 billion, and who knows what it's going to be next week. But the truth of the matter is we have a huge budget surplus. I know a lot of agencies and government programs see that money and they want to spend it. But I look at the taxpayers, the forgotten man in Idaho, and they're the ones who are paying the taxes that generate these surpluses. Our first priority is to make sure the money belongs to those who earn it. And it needs to be returned to the taxpayers. And one of the clearest and obvious ways is to repeal the tax on groceries. Idaho is one of only 5 states that fully taxes groceries. Conservative red state Idaho is only one of 5 states that fully taxes groceries. In fact, we have the 3rd highest tax on food of any state in the nation. That should not be working in Idaho. The grocery tax is a regressive tax. This will benefit lower income families more than upper income families, and it's time we repealed it. Property tax relief, we get dozens and hundreds of emails on property taxes. Nobody on a fixed income should be taxed out of their home. We should be able to reform property taxes to make it fair for everyone, to keep our local entities whole, and to make sure that people are secure in their property rights on their property. We need to reduce reliance on the federal government. We've seen with the ARPA money coming in, I know it sounds very attractive to accept that money, but with that money comes rules. And we've seen local government entities that are saddled with rules that maybe they didn't want when they took the money. So we have work to do. I think it's a great conservative agenda. I appreciate all the legislators who got together to do this. The opportunity to sign on to this was offered to all legislators, and we have 31 on board. That's almost 1/3 of the entire legislature. So that's very promising to get that many on board on day one. And I'm excited to get this going and get some good work done for the people of Idaho. Thank you.
So, does anybody else want to say anything? Okay, all right,
Representative Nichols from Canyon County. 2 of my priorities are going to be this session again is to work on mandates regarding the shot or the vaccine. We have people that are still contacting us from all over the state that are losing their jobs, that are losing their incomes, that are losing their hard work that they have put in, the hours and hours of time that they have given to these companies to be able to lose their jobs now over a mandate. So that'll be one thing that we'll be bringing back again. The other one is school choice. We are hearing from parents all over the state that want school choice. They want the opportunity to be able to have the options for their children's education. We need to be funding students and not systems. And so school choice is also going to be a priority. We want to be able to see parents educate their kids the way that they feel is the best way, because it's not a one-size-fits-all. No child should be put into a box and labeled that they have to learn a certain way or go to a certain school. And if their schools are not performing, then parents should have those options to be able to send them somewhere else. So those are 2 things that I'll be working on and that are also on our conservative agenda. Thank you.
We good? Okay, now we'll take a few questions. Betsy.
So all of you are House members here today. The 31.
I'm a Senate member.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's a few. And a former House member. The 31 who have signed on, other than yourself, are there any senators or is it all House members?
Yes, as I said earlier, Senator Bayer had signed on and she planned to be here today, but things came up and she couldn't. Okay. Next question. Yes.
You said that the conservative group has been working on these proposals remotely over the past couple of months. I was curious, do you have bills ready to go on day one, or are these talking points?
I believe there are bills ready to go, and we have been working on it. And the beauty of this is we work on this in concert with the citizens of our state. We don't want this to just be an echo chamber of legislature. We involve as many citizens as we can. I know that everyone standing here in front of you today spends a massive amount of time out in their communities with their constituents, listening to their concerns, doing the best they can to address them with what we have now, and making promises to do all that they can to make things better for the citizens of this great state. Next question.
So a lot of the items on the conservative agenda from this year are very similar to what was on from last year as well. There's a few new ones. How does the group of you intend to try to, I guess, get more success in passing more conservative legislation compared to what you've been able to do from the previous year?
Well, we plan to work really hard at that, and we plan to build coalitions. And I would like to point out, too, a really good example of that from last year was the Sanctuary State Protection Act, that we were able to enhance our sanctuary state protection. We hit a brick wall with the Senate last year. The senators had told me that they were just plainly not interested in seeing that legislation advance. But the citizens of the state of Idaho turned up the heat massively, and the Senate and the House had no choice but to respond to the will of the people. And I would encourage the citizens of the state of Idaho to take a look at these people that have signed on to this legislative agenda, this conservative agenda, and be in contact with them and ask them what you can do to make this legislative agenda successful. Because we are 105, and there are, 1.5 million people in the state of Idaho? This is a team effort. This isn't just 105 citizens of this state. We represent those 1.5 million people, and we want to hear from you, and we want your help. We will need your help to make this happen this year, and we are looking forward to that. Let's see if someone else has a question first. Are there any other questions? Yes.
My name is Ruth Brown. I work for Idaho Reports. You mentioned some election integrity issues. Every single one of you is elected and won your races. Do you question the integrity of local elections or the presidential elections, or maybe Representative Moon?
But I was just going to see if there was someone that would like to address. Okay.
Thank you, and thank you for the question. Having gone around the state already campaigning, and also prior to that on a tour, meeting with folks about the election issues, we do have election integrity issues in the state, contrary to what some people would want the public to believe. There have been issues with tabulations that are ignoring absentee ballots in one county. You can look that up. I can show you the source of that county, not randomizing ballots. There's also been issues with multiple, as many as 9 absentee ballots during the primary over in the Madison County area, and also voter ID. So if you're going to use an ID and then have a bill to verify that you actually reside in a house and it's just a Verizon bill, that's not enough. So anyway, there's a lot of different issues that we're going to deal with that need to be dealt with, I think, right away, because there's doubt around the state in our election system, and we have to make sure that they feel comfortable that it's going to be a free, fair election. It's a level playing field across the board for all candidates who run for all races in the state. Okay, you're welcome.
Do you want to talk about that, Priscilla?
I'll mention it. The Heritage Foundation did an analysis of election integrity in all 50 states, and the state of Idaho ranks 38.
Yes.
In election integrity, according to the Heritage Foundation study. Okay, is there anybody else who have any questions? Yes.
I think Representative Ron Nate has said on my show before that the Senate is where good bills go to die. How do you?
Not my fault.
I get that. Yes. How do you propose? These are all great agendas for conservatives. How do you propose getting those past the Senate after what we saw back in November?
You know, that's a real issue, and we could get into some real detail in that, but for right now, about all I can say about that is elections have consequences. And I'll just leave it at that. Any other questions? Okay.
I got one more, maybe for Representative Nate, but
Okay.
The grocery tax has been talked about for many years. And that seems to get a lot of people talking on both sides of the aisle. You know, what do you believe, or what would be the holdup right now on the grocery tax? It's kind of made it up and down the spectrum as far as how far it gets in the legislature, but hasn't really gone very far in recent years. What do you believe is the issue there?
Well, in the past, the 2 main hiccups for the grocery tax repeal was the will of the legislature, but we overcame that. In 2017, we passed it, and it went to the governor's desk. He vetoed it, arguably a day late, but the Supreme Court gave him a pass on that one late veto. And but the good news is this governor has said he's amenable to signing a grocery tax repeal. So legislatively speaking, I think the will is there. The other hiccup has been the cost of it. And the cost was always, there's always budget priorities, and there's usually a very limited amount of wiggle room you have with a budget. This year, there is no concern that way. There's $1.6 billion. If we look at the amount that the grocery tax repeal would affect the budget, it's about 16% of that even less if we use part of the growth of the tax relief fund. It would be less than a 10% amount of the surplus out there. So there's no reason fiscally to oppose this. I think there's no reason in terms of fairness to oppose this. It actually makes our tax system more fair. And it's in this era of high food inflation, I don't believe the CPI numbers. I'm an economist, trained economist. I don't believe the CPI numbers for a minute. I think our inflation is a lot higher than they're telling us. And I think if you go through the meat section and the grocery section of your grocery store, you see a lot more than 3% inflation right now. You know who benefits from that inflation? The government does, because they get 6% of every dollar you pay on groceries. The government should not be getting a windfall from your inflation and your expenses on groceries. We should return it to the taxpayers. We should get the tax off groceries. And just so you know, at the end of this, I do have copies of the press release here and copies of the conservative agenda, so you can all review them and print accurate stories on them. Thanks.
That answers my question. I was just wondering if you had copies.
Yeah, we do. All right. Thanks.
Okay, so if there are no more questions,
One more. What sort of proposals are kicking around on property taxes? We mentioned changing the way that systems are funded. Are there any specific proposals right now?
that I don't know, because I think most of the legislation are still in draft form or private property, so I'm sure that will be coming out soon. Again, I would like to thank you all for being here. We appreciate your time. Come and get copies of the press release if you would like, and we have thousands of copies of the conservative agenda for you to take home and share with your friends, neighbors, and our constituents. Thank you.
So for those that were tuning in late, that was
I'd like a copy of yours, please.
Let me go grab my other mic real quick.
You bet. East Idaho legislator.
So for those that were tuning in, that was a press briefing that some legislators were doing about the Idaho conservative agenda for 2022. We appreciate you guys tuning in. We tried to get a couple questions in there, and if you guys have any additional questions, we can certainly ask them here in the future. So thank you again. We appreciate it, and we will have lots more updates for you guys throughout the legislative session as it kicks off and we go into 2022. Idaho Dispatch will do our best to keep you updated on whatever bills are coming and kind of what those bills do, and we try to reach out to the sponsors. We try to reach out to those who are opposed to the bills. And as always, try to cover both sides of the story so that you guys are informed. Here, one sec. See if I can flip this around. Nope, it's not quite enough. So that you guys are informed about what's happening, and we appreciate you tuning in today, and we'll talk to you soon.